right, y'all, and good morning. Happy Sunday to you. Today we have a very special show today. We're going to be going a little bit shorter than usual. Typically, we do this like 30, 40, 50. Sometimes I go over an hour. I try to keep it under an hour, but I'm not always successful. And today we're going to be discussing a little bit about a very short kind of overview of what's going on in crypto markets. We're going to take a look at a Bitcoin just because there's some moves that are happening. There's some very positive information that is coming our way. We're going to take a look at a little bit of the charts of where we are and kind of see whether my sort of conversation prediction of whatever was going to happen that I was hoping, maybe, hopefully, right, is going to go through, whether it happened or not. I do want to welcome everybody who is here live. Hey, if you're brand new, do me a huge favor, smash that subscribe button, do notification, do the like button if you like what you're seeing. And I do want to have a very special welcome for everybody who is listening this on a podcasting service. You are beyond appreciated. Thank you so much. So here we go. Let's do this. All right, and good morning and welcome. Today we're going to do a much shorter show, as I have mentioned moments ago, and we're going to get started and take a look at the markets. So here we go, the top 100. As we scroll up and down the whole thing, you will see that there's a lot of green going on right now, and this is quite lovely and beautiful. As at the moment, Bitcoin is trading at $18,072.49, and it has rallied 5.4% over the course of 24 hours. Ethereum is currently sitting or standing, depending on where you would like to position it, at $553.34, up 6.5% over 24 hours. XRP is back to 62 cents, and it has rallied 9.7%. Tether has increased the amount of the stuff that they're hodling, right? But the price is the price. So they too are like a Fed, printing their own money. ADA is up at 16.89 cents, up 5.7%. Bitcoin Cash is up 4.2, sitting at 280.44. Link is back up to over $13, currently at $13.18, up 3.2. LTC is also up 5.9% right now at $75.02, and Polkadot keeps approaching that $5. We'll see if it's going to happen. Of course, like I said, most of the things are going up. One thing that has gone down is Stellar. Stellar was performing stellar, and it is up 81.7% in 7 days, but it is down 6.2% in the last 24 hours, currently at 19.7 cents. So let's take a look at what's going on in the markets as far as the top gainers. Nothing ridiculously huge of movers of like 500% in the 24 hours, but we do have NMR is up 18%, Kusama 13.5, Nexo 10.8, XRP 9.7, Cell 9.2, Quant 9%, ZIL is 8.2. So you can see there's some healthy gains for sure, nothing too crazy. On the losing end, again, Stellar is the biggest loser at this moment at 6.2. The next one is XEM at negative 4.9. Sushi is at negative 2.3. STX at 1.9, and then it kind of keeps going down. So overall, the market is actually on the upside of the whole thing, which is a good thing, which is a very good thing. Now, there's some news and stuff that is happening. So, of course, there was an article that was recently published by Paul Tudor Jones that was basically really comparing where Bitcoin is today to where gold was in the 70s and the very long bull market that it was experiencing. So he was kind of comparing that whole piece. Of course, there are many individuals that are calling Bitcoin at $500,000 per Bitcoin. There are some that are saying it's going to hit 1 million by 2025. There are individuals that are saying it's going to be 300, 400,000. My prediction was that in a shorter term, like this, a particular kind of a component is going to be between 87,000 and 130,000 on the high end, kind of right around there. I could be grossly wrong. And these guys could be, beautifully right. And hey, that's an upside that I tend to be much more conservative than vast majority of folks. But I do see a large wave coming in, and my really the prediction, so to speak, is on the. And I don't even know if it's a prediction, right? It's more like a guesstimate analysis than anything else. I don't know that I can predict much of anything. But we have received that particular news. We're seeing folks are starting to sell just about everything in Bitcoin. Venezuela is thriving on the digital economy, and anything from a shoe shine to pizza to your groceries to your daycare, all of that is actually powered by digital currencies, believe it or not. Now, of course, we also have an individual named Logic. I don't know who that is, but it sounds like it's a rapper. So, you probably know him as Logic. So he basically went in onto his Instagram and saying that he bought 6 million worth of Bitcoin last month. Now, we don't know exactly when he purchased it, but they're saying, well, last month that could be, sometimes in October or sometimes, even at the end of the October. So they're saying, well, if he did buy at the 31st of October or before, that means that 6 million would have been bought at a price of about 13,000, which means about 430 Bitcoin. And that means that he actually just made a profit of about $2 million. That is absolutely huge. And I will tell you, I have done some sales for Bitcoin, I won't lie, of like just this was a few years back. It was like a Nest thermostat, right? I liked it, and then I didn't really like it, so I sold it. I sold the Nest, and I believe it sold for $400 at that time in Bitcoin. So at the moment, and the Bitcoin was probably about, I don't know, 8,000 maybe. So that is a very expensive thermostat, if you ask me personally. And I'm still, I am on the hodling side of Bitcoin. There are certain other currencies that I might use as currencies to sort of buy things. But when it comes to Bitcoin, I like to hodl. So there you go. Learn something interesting about me. Bitcoin above $18,000 as major Wall Street institution about to make enormous bet on flagship cryptocurrency. This is probably the news of the week, but I could be wrong. So what happened? Well, Guggenheim Partners is basically wanting to get into Bitcoin. Now, if you know anything about Guggenheim Partners, you will know that they're an investment and advisory firm with over 270, I was going to say 50, but $270 billion worth of assets under management. And on November 27th, they made an SEC filing basically saying they want to seek exposure to Bitcoin, and they plan to invest 10% of the net asset value, which roughly comes in to $500 million into Bitcoin. And how are they going to invest it? Well, they're going to do an exposure through the Macro Opportunities Fund into the share of Grayscale Bitcoin Trust. Now, Grayscale Bitcoin Trust is Mike Novograt's thing, right? And you probably heard about him or heard from him. He's very bullish, has been for a very long time. He is looking to kind of continuously expand into this stuff because he sees the institutions really going into this stuff. And one of the things that you should know is that the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, GBTC, not D, T as in Tom, they are charging a premium for folks to invest into this fund, upwards of about 1,000% is from what some articles were stating. So this is an interesting piece, and they are doing really well for themselves. Now, Guggenheim Partners did warn that the enormous Bitcoin bet could incur substantial losses due to numerous risks associated with nascent asset class anything from regulations, right? We've heard some of that stuff, and that was the sort of the alleged reason why things were coming back down, which is possible. I don't know. Nobody really knows exactly what spooks whom, right? The only thing I can tell you why the prices go down is because more people were selling than people were buying. That's it. It's that simple. And now, well, the prices are going back up because more people are buying than are selling. Simply as that. Now, there's of course some crisis of confidence in the network, which I don't know. I think that there's some risks about the miners being predominantly in China, but again, I think that that is going to expand and it's going to become, hopefully, much more global access into it, especially as the countries sort of ease up on some of the regulations and kind of provide a bit clearer guidance of what they're expecting and what they want folks to do. And then, of course, the rise of altcoins, which I do believe that they're going to rise. I do believe that they're going to be created, but it's not going to, I don't think it's going to take over Bitcoin. You know what I mean? So I do believe that there are different purposes for things, and I know everything is called cryptocurrencies, right? But at the end of the day, they're not all the same. It's kind of like, you know, I don't know, apples. You know, they're all called apples, but they're not all the same. It's kind of like stocks. They're all called stocks, but they're not all the same. You know, you wouldn't want to hold some no-name company and stuff in the same vigor as you would potentially Amazon or Tesla. I don't know. I could be wrong, right? But that's kind of where I kind of see the whole thing. Now, they did also, the GBTC shares have always traded at a premium to net asset value, NAV, and those spikes tend to coincide with bullish market reversals. So that's an interesting piece that they're also exposing themselves to the risk. Personally, if Guggenheim Partners was just to buy Bitcoin and hodl it that way, I think that that might be a better longer term thing. But again, everybody does what everybody is comfortable doing, right? So they're doing what they're comfortable with. In spite of the aforementioned risk, not having exposure to cryptocurrency appears to be even riskier. They said more riskier, but that's not proper English in my humble ESL opinion. But, so many people are looking at it and saying, there's a risk with holding it. And then there's a bigger risk with not holding it. And so now you're choosing which of the risks you're willing to take. And more companies are deciding that the risk of hodling is much better, much smaller, and has much higher potential rewards than not being part in the market. So they are basically saying that roughly 842 Bitcoin, roughly $15 billion at press time, are currently held as corporate treasuries. And now the question comes in, why institutions suddenly give a damn about Bitcoin? Well, they are coming in, and they're coming in strong. Of almost 800 institutions that Fidelity Report surveyed, 36% owned crypto assets, right? The remaining, I want to say, because I read the full report, it's not here in the article, but I read the full report, and I want to say 87% of those that are not holding it, are currently researching it and are excited to go into it. So that's an interesting piece as well to keep in mind. Respondents believe that hedge funds will increase their crypto holdings drastically, and 90% of institutional holders of crypto assets expect to invest even more. So the interesting piece is they take a while to kind of get in, right? They're sort of thinking about it, and then when they get excited, they get excited. So they dip in a little bit, maybe 1% or 5%, something like that. Then they start making, $2 million over the course of, a month, like the rapper did, potentially, allegedly. I don't know how much he made. I'm just going off of the article, right? And then they were like, holy mackerel, like, this is amazing. It's like a well, a really good well with solid water. Why should I not be drinking from it? So they start drinking from it more and more and more. And then when their friends see that, hey, look how well they're doing, well, they want some of that well water as well. Investors and financial institutions now believe holding BTC might prove to be less risky than not having Bitcoin exposure at all. And we just seen that from the previous article. And the research firm Masari basically said 81,000 BTC, or half a percent of all BTC in circulation, is held in the treasuries of publicly traded companies. Publicly traded companies, of course, MicroStrategy is at a top right now with 38,250. Galaxy Digital, that's the Mike Novogratz company, is in a second position at 16,651 Bitcoin. BC Group is actually holding 13,558 Square, 4,709. Hunter Mining kind of goes down all the way into it. The smallest one being 63 Bitcoin, or roughly, we're talking roughly $1 million. So this is an insane part, and this is just, of course, with some of the larger holdings from the publicly traded companies. This does not account family offices. It does not account wealthy individuals like athletes and rappers and actors and actresses, right? Wasn't there a story of what's the lady? I don't watch the show. I read the books. Oh my gosh, my brain stopped working. The winter's coming, people. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about, right? So she actually went in and tweeted, like, should I do it? Vast majority of people said don't do it, and she was like, thank you for your opinion. I bought it anyways. So good for you, girlfriend. Good for you. Two major areas offer the most value to institutional investors, and that's secure borderless transactions and access to new opportunities that simply do not and cannot exist in traditional markets. This is the reason that I also have mentioned not that long ago on this show. It might have been even yesterday. I don't remember. That I have mentioned that that's the reason why I believe that traditional kind of stock market and stuff that we're seeing, well, that puppy is not going to be quite there for a long time. I mean, I don't think it's going to die, but I think vast majority of the money is going to shift into this stuff. And by the time the regular old public shifts, you know what? I think that Raul Paul might be right. That Bitcoin just might be $1 million in 2025, and things are going to shift very quickly from here on out. I mean, it's not going to happen like in an hour, right? But relatively speaking, it's going to be fast. So do pay attention, do jump into the stuff. As you can see, I'm incredibly bullish. So do your own research. Above anything else, do your own research. As banks and technology providers continue to invest heavily in research and development projects, we will continue to see institutions increase their presence within the space. And of course, now we're seeing the introduction of custody solutions. Way back when, you kind of had to know a little bit of code or know somebody who did. Then you kind of had to know some folks to help you out. Then you had to kind of like figure out how do you get this like paper version of the wallet and stuff. Then the wallet started to become easy. Now you don't even have to hold your own wallet. You can have it in an institution, and now banks are allowed to actually not just allow for cryptocurrency businesses, although many of them are still not quite there. If you go and say, hey, I'm in a crypto business, the bank wants nothing to do with you, which is okay, because there is a beautiful, thriving community, and the banks will, sooner or later, come knocking on our doors. But the regulations are now coming in and supporting companies as well as banks to create adequate custodial solutions to secure the growing amount of crypto assets. And Anchorage, a newly launched crypto custody firm backed by Anderson Horowitz and a number of other individuals, is one of those solutions that is coming our way. Bankfrick, a Liechtenstein based private bank, has also made it a priority to offer a range of blockchain banking services, including token launch, support, crypto trading, digital asset custody, and so on. You also know that Kraken, which was a crypto exchange, well, still is, has also received a banking license. So now they're actually working to combine the two methods into one. And the banks, which vast majority of them are still not supporting any crypto individuals, any crypto businesses and that kind of stuff, are going to lose dearly, because there's a lot of money that is going to be made in this industry by the crypto businesses and investors, and they are going to go into banks that are friendly to them, which means those banks are going to thrive and the other ones not so much. So Banks have already also received green light to custody cryptocurrencies. We already talked about that. And their custody options, coupled with the emergence of crypto insurance companies, are providing policies for digital assets. Now, we're still waiting for some regulations and that kind of stuff. I do know that, in looking at some of the things that happens, like, for example, we are in the process of finalizing our own tokens and stuff, and kind of launching it onto the testnet first. Sorry, I know that's not a popular thing. Everybody just sort of launches it, but to me that's just highly irresponsible thing to do. And here in US, I will have to go through regulations. I will have to go through SEC. I will have to go and limit the exposure, especially at the beginning, to those that can or cannot participate in this market, right? Which is really, really sad. But if I was based somewhere in China and prohibited anybody in the US, I could press a button and boom, off we go into the world. So there's some regulation stuff that still needs to be resolved and configured, but I also do understand why. They're trying to quote unquote protect the public. But then again, there's really no protection whatsoever. You got to do your own due diligence and research, because even the large public companies, even the large public banks, they do fishy stuff all the time, and you got to be careful with your money and investments. Institutional investors are moving towards holding Bitcoin in physical form instead of cash settled futures. So we've seen them kind of playing in with the market, but just kind of like with the central banks don't necessarily go into the paper gold, right? They hold physical, most of them at least. This is kind of where we see institutions basically saying, I want to hold that puppy. Forget this whole like trading. It's kind of nice. It's fun. Maybe we can do that on the side as sort of like an additional income kind of thing from investments. But we want to hodl. We want to hodl physical component of the whole thing, which means that even less coins are going to be available, which the only thing is that unless the whales start selling, which some of them might, especially if they're hodling into the thousands, which there are many of them, they might decide, hey, I'm just going to sell some, which means they're going to create a beautiful profit. But those that are really, really smart are saying, I don't know that I want to sell it at 20,000, because if it's going to go to 200,000, why would I basically lose 10x on my investment if I don't have to? So they might start selling smaller amounts so that they can live off of it, right? Like it's, kind of like retirees when they're selling portions of their retirement or their, holdings, because it's not retirement fund, and well, I guess it is. But they're selling a portion of it so that they can live. A similar thing we're going to see here. According to a recent survey by Fidelity Asset Management, 80% of surveyed institutions find investing in digital assets appealing, while the number of Bitcoin addresses and the holdings above 1,000 and 10,000 Bitcoin have also increased considerably. So we're seeing definite increase onto the holding piece, and the number of people that go into the exchange keeps shrinking over time. Now, we did, was it yesterday, day before yesterday? I can't remember exactly when we did it, but we did talk about YFI, and YFI is actually, there's like a fourth project, I don't know, that was three now, this is four. Fourth project that they have collaborated with, and they're really starting to become a leader within DeFi sector, in my humble opinion. So it's going to be very interesting and curious to kind of see where it goes. But we did take a look at their chart, and I was showing you a triangle pattern that has a good potential. So I wanted to do a follow-up on that, just because I do think that this thing, being a leader in DeFi, and DeFi being even younger than Bitcoin, does have some potential to actually become a very strong mover within the space. So right here on the chart, you can see a very clear channel downwards from that recent high of $29,000 with the double top and stuff. This line and this line, the top and the bottom of the channel are parallel. I just basically, that's kind of how I made them, and you can see that they come in very, very well into it. It hits the bottoms and slightly below it at times, but overall it hits the bottoms quite nicely. Again, the tops slightly goes above it, but it was trading within the nice channel. It hit the much lower price of about 18,000. It has come back up, and now the interesting piece is is this triangle pattern that is forming since we've hit the new high. So what is happening? Well, last time we kind of talked about it. We were somewhere about here, right? Kind of looking to see, is it going to break below the triangle or not? Because if it is, then the triangle obviously goes away and we're just basically hitting a dead cat bounce, which means we're going back on down. However, we have come up, hit the bottom of the triangle, broke slightly above it, right? Slightly above it, came back down, and now what I actually foresee happening, but oh no, oh no, see, this is a 15-minute chart. This is good thing, y'all. This is a good thing, because I was thinking it's going to actually go this way, but we do have a very clear breakout. I hope that you can see it right now. Oh, this is how lucky. Typically, things don't move when you want them to, and they don't move when you're watching live, but YFI has moved, and we had gone from this red candle over here, right, because I was expecting it's going to come, hit about, hold on, let me see if I can zoom this in, because I can't see much of anything, y'all. Made this thing super small so that you can kind of see it clean on your end, but I can't read the chart at all. So I was thinking we're going to hit 24,000, come back down to about 23,400, something like that, and kind of go back up and then have a breakout somewhere about 23,500 or so. However, we seem to have a very strong bullish move with the 15-minute candle that has actually broken to 24.4, and now the second one is being formed, hitting a high of 24.80, 850. And as you can see right now, we're in a 50-minute candle, but as you can see that it is very interesting moves. Let's go switch it over to the 1 minute, and in a 1 minute you can see that we are very, very clear bull pattern. A bit too steep of a bull for me, but nonetheless we're a very clear strong bull pattern. It's an exponential curve that is starting to rise, and as you can see, it's definitely filling on up. You can actually watch it kind of as it's developing right now. So right now we have locally hit in the last like 2-3 minutes 24,800 something. We are printing green candles. We're definitely printing green candles. Look at that puppy go. Holy mackerel. Is it going to break? Oh my gosh. This is so exciting. This is so exciting. You know, grab a drink, everybody. Now we're watching it in the real time, moving and moving really strongly. There is no divergence whatsoever happening. So right now, this is an exciting part that might be worthwhile. We definitely have a very, very, very clear breakout with YFI. This was a lucky break for the channel and for everybody watching this live right now, because you know it's definitely moving on up. So we'll see how it all plays out. But again, my bullish theory is coming to fruition. So this is very exciting news. While that is happening over here, oh, little bit of red, but that's normal when you have, you know, how many candles did we print in the green? But this is also 1 minute. Keep that in mind. This is definitely 1 minute chart. So we'll come back to it in a moment just to see what happens. Now in this particular chart over here, this is Bitcoin. This is where we talked about that double top. This is where we kind of came back down, crashing to 16,200. We have been recovering. Where we left the whole conversation was within this particular triangle, where I was actually showing you that how this line over here that was a support earlier in the month, about, you know, a week ago or so. So this is super short term. It might become a resistance, and then we have a nice flag forming. However, what has happened since then is that we broke through that resistance, and now we're going into a channel. Again, sometimes we break through it, but there is a very clear channel that is happening within Bitcoin that is on the bullish trend of things. Excuse me. And it is moving on up in quite nice pattern. So it goes up, it hits the top of the channel, it comes back down. We're seeing, interesting kind of patterns moving. So as long as it stays within it, the next sort of stop, if you would, should be at about $18,340 or so, and it should come back down to 18.2. So if it holds within this channel, we should not be going much below 18,000 from this point on. But again, this is a very short-term view. This is a 15-minute chart, 15-minute candle chart, and we are seeing definitely a positive move into this whole thing, into this whole sphere. If it was to come back down and hit it, and it kind of comes and plays really nicely with the 50-day moving average. As you can see, it touches on it, it bounces off of it. This is very bullish, and we again have moved into the bullish pattern with the 50-day moving average being above 200-day moving average. And again, on the low end of things, where we could be is the 17,000, 400 or so is the sort of on the super low level. As you can see, this support and the 200-day moving average are basically coinciding right now. They are touching. So very, very bullish moves for Bitcoin, and I do believe that it's going to go up. So I know folks were saying, could Bitcoin hit 20,000 before year's end? Anything is possible. We simply don't know. But looking at this chart, I do think that there is still a possibility that we will hit a brand new high before the end of 2020. Not a financial advice. Please do your own due diligence. Do consider your own sort of risk and reward and the money. One thing that, again, not a financial advice, but I do personally don't think it's very intelligent to do, is to go and borrow money to play in these markets, because they move significantly. I know that my view and opinion is not the same as of everybody else, and if you know what you're doing and you're a trader and you've been trading for a long time and you know how to protect yourselves, then hey, leverage makes sense. But if you're brand new, borrowing money, and we've seen people do crazy things when Bitcoin was pumping last time around, which was 3 years ago or so, where they were literally leveraging their homes to get into Bitcoin. I can't tell you what to do, nor am I going to, but personally, I think that that's highly silly to do. And finally, peace, let's go and take a look at what's happening with YFI. So we did have a few of the reddish candles. As you can see, the trend is kind of slowing down, so it'll be interesting to monitor. So hey, if you're a trader, pay attention to this stuff. And who knows, the cat just decided to join us, so you saw that for a second. But we'll see kind of how that is all going to turn out. All right, well, that's it. This is it for today. I did say it was going to be short. Here we are, still hitting in on 30 minutes or so. So hopefully you have enjoyed the show. Do me a huge favor, if you have enjoyed this stuff, if you have liked it, smash the like button, smash the subscribe button, smash notification button if any of those buttons exist, or you can find them and see them. And I will see you tomorrow, more likely than not. Until then, stay forever money blessed, and do remember, you are